Welcome to Chris and Jen in the Morning,
where it's always morning somewhere.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Jen, and we are so excited to have you here today.
Yes, welcome back, everybody, for another fun and exciting Chris and Jen in the Morning.
In the afternoon. No, in the morning.
Yeah, because it's always morning somewhere. That's why we say it.
Well, welcome back. We are so excited to talk to you today about Microjoys.
We are. Microjoys is a phrase that I recently heard and wanted to dive more into because I hadn't heard it before. That is what we're going to discuss today and want us to share our thoughts, feelings, and opinions about it.
Yeah, Chris and I are all about self-care and finding peace and happiness and love and joy and just getting the most out of life. And so we thought, what better thing to talk about than when you're in the middle of life and you just take some time to indulge in some microjoys.
That's right. But we will start, as we do every episode, with our gratitude moments. So I will kick us off this week. I will say that my gratitude moment is I found myself really leaning on people this week for their expertise and their knowledge on topics throughout many different things this week. And I'm so lucky to get to work with, and I'm surrounded by people who are willing to, share their time with me to help educate me, inform me, so that I can show up the best way that I can. So I just really found myself this week feeling very grateful for people who are super smart on stuff and willing to share that knowledge with me, because I don't know if I would have been able to make it through the week without them.
I love that. And it's so true, right? I mean, I know that you are often that person for me, but just so many people. I am incredibly grateful as well to be surrounded by so many people that are just so incredibly talented and smart and so willing to share. So I absolutely love that. My gratitude moment this week. So I was driving home last night, actually, from visiting my dad, and I was on the drive, kind of got back a little bit later than what I was expecting. And so the sunset was happening while I was driving, and I was headed south, and on one side of me to my right was this gorgeous sunset. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, but the sky was full of yellows and peaches and pinks, and you could actually see the rays of sun. And I'm in the middle of nowhere, so you can really just see everything.
Yes.
And then to my left was the moon, and it, I think, was not quite a full moon last night. I think that's tonight, but it was just this giant, full, big round moon rising in the sky as the sky was turning from this bright blue to kind of darkening a little bit. And so what was just I found myself wanting to pull over, but refusing to stop because I was not going to have a potty break in the middle of this drive home. And I felt like I was in the middle of this cartoon or this movie or something, where to my left, the sky is darkening. And then to my right, it's the sun going down with the rays of light shooting everywhere. And the sun's over here and the moon's over here. And there's some hills and stuff in front of me. And it was just absolutely gorgeous. And the moon was just so enormous coming up on the horizon. And it just was so beautiful. And even though I didn't, give myself the time to stop and pull over and look at it, just getting to see that as I was driving back, I just thought, this is just such a wonderful experience and something that I will hang on to and try and pull the picture back up in my mind. See, I wish I had the talent to be able to paint that and make it come to life and to be able to stare at what I was looking at again, because it was so beautiful. So just tons of gratitude for being able to find myself in a place where, I could see such and with this just wide open space to my right and left, being able to see the sunset and the moon rise at the same time. It was just beautiful.
Yeah.
So
sounds picturesque.
It was just gorgeous. I thought, oh, if only I could just like sit somewhere and watch this happen all the time. And then I thought, why, I guess I could. So,
So kind of
so
pencil that into some time for you.
yeah. So speaking of micro joys, that is absolutely one of my micro joys. So great transition.
Yeah.
But, part of the reason we start our podcast with these gratitude moments is it is about finding the joy amidst, all of the chaos and the mundaneness, and is that even a word? I don't know. And just
It is
like
now.
the routine of life. And it's
Yeah.
so easy to collect all of those thoughts about the things that don't go quite right or that you wish could have been better, or all the
Yeah.
challenges or whatever in life. And, we really believe that when you focus on the things there are to be grateful for, you become more aware of how many of them are all around you. And
Yep.
you just start to bring a different energy to the day. So, um,
And research shows it helps you get into a better mind space, that you see the world through a different lens. So it's really, a practice that you and I have really grabbed onto. And, you know, I love it. I love that we start our episodes that way. So, like I said, I was reading an article, and it used the phrase microjoys, and all one word. I was like, well, I've never heard of a microjoy before. So I went and did some looking, and I just thought like this concept and this idea was so aligned with like what we believe in with our brand, with like all of that stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have to have a conversation around this, because it like just sparked a renewed excitement in me. And now, like, as I go through my days and I face hardships or frustrations or even like small inconveniences, I try to find the micro joys throughout the day. So just to quickly like ground us in what a micro joy
yeah.
is, it is not a grand achievement. It's this idea of a small spark of joy, a small spark of happiness, something that, is an everyday moment that we may overlook. And so whenever we are looking for the micro joys, look in the everyday mundane, and you will likely find many.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so easy to take things for granted and just to kind of get caught up or in life and fixated on where we're headed. And, that's something that I've shared. I've really been focused on for many years is
Yeah.
how do I teach myself to dance in the rain and live in the moment? And I think for me, focusing on micro joys is a great way to pull you into the moment. So when
Yeah.
people say stop and smell the flowers, stop and smell the roses, like that is absolutely a micro joy.
Yep.
It's the I think epitomizes the meaning of micro joy. It is to stop and realize the amazing, beautiful things all around you,
Yeah.
and to just give yourself permission to enjoy them and really take them in, because we only get this one life, we only live these seconds that we're in right
Right.
now this one time. And so how do we get the most out of them? It's really by stopping and appreciating them, and instead of focusing on the thorns and the roses, or whatever the millions of other things, like just focus on the beauty that is right in front of you, because we are surrounded by it all the time. And what a shame those moments that we miss out on that, which we all do, right? We all do.
Well, I mean, even when you think about like when you're talking to your friends about your day or your loved ones, like what are the things you're talking to them about? Are they the, big frustrations of the day, the big wins? Are they the small inconveniences? So the example that I have is trains here are fairly frequently running not how they should. And so I find myself talking about, oh, I'm so irritated. I had to wait 12 minutes for a train. And I feel frustrated about that. And that's what I'm sharing. I'm not
Yeah.
sharing like the things, those like, oh my gosh, I had like a great cup of coffee today, and it was the perfect balance of the espresso and the steamed milk. And it's just, you don't find yourself talking about those things. And so it's really like trying to reframe and find those things and celebrate them and talk about them and acknowledge them. So super excited for this topic. I actually had one this morning whenever I made my coffee and I took my first sip. It was like it was the perfect balance of everything. Like it
Ugh,
was so good, it was so flavorful. And of course, like I was, walking from the kitchen into the living room to do something else. And then I was like, no, let's sit with this for a minute. Let's really like taste this and enjoy it and, feel the just like the calmness and the happiness that kind of like because it just tasted so good and that happens frequently but it's not something that I really spend time in those moments so it
yeah.
was just a small example of one that like I got to experience today.
I absolutely love that. And I am all about a great cup of joe. So I try my best to take some of the opportunities, some of the many I have to enjoy that. But it is one of life's guilty little pleasures. And when I think about you, we talked about guilty pleasures
Yeah,
just not very long ago. And, I think about Microjoys as a little bit of guilty pleasures in a way, right? You just pause and enjoy the moments in life that, can become very routine. I do think it's important to still be able to talk about, the other stuff that's going on in life that, is hard or whatever. And especially as expressives for us to be able to get it out so we can move
yeah,
on. But I love what you talked about in terms of like just being intentional about what kind of energy we're bringing to our day and to everybody else's day. We can choose to collect and focus on all of those things that are tough or that are obstacles, but we can also choose to collect all of those things that we often take for granted that are
yeah,
just like beautiful all around you. And I don't think it's about shoving down your feelings of what's tough, but it's more about where you choose to give your attention and your energy and your
yeah,
focus. And, I'm a big believer in energy, and, kind of the energy waves that you put out and how that really like impacts your experience in the world. Newton's law, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I completely believe that applies to the energy that we bring into every interaction. And so if we set our intention to bring that positive joy, then there will be things that get us down. And you absolutely should honor your feelings and not ignore them.
right,
But you should honor your feelings, even those feelings of joy you can get from the tiny things all
yeah.
around us. So, some of my favorite micro joys, I love a good bird watching session. I was telling you, I just want to come to New York and sit in the park. I love, there's a little park, I can't remember what it's called. It's like right by, what is that funny building that is like shaped like a
Oh,
triangle? Flatiron.
Flatiron. Hmm.
Yeah, there's a little park right by the Flatiron building, kind of just in the middle of the city. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
And I love to just sit in that little park, and there's all kinds of birds and stuff. And I would love to just go sit and watch all the birds and take my pictures of them. Like, just what a moment of joy to get to experience that. But I love to go, this morning I was like looking at the bird that was in the neighbor's tree in the backyard, going, oh, that looks like a woodpecker. That's like so pretty. So I love to take pictures of the birds. I love a good sunset. I love a sunrise when I'm on the other side of the world and day is night. But I love a good sunset. I love looking at the moon. I love pictures of nature. How many pictures of rocks and water did I take when I went to Oregon? For me, those are little micro joys of just getting to enjoy the world around me. I absolutely love like just getting to indulge in petting and cuddling with my dogs. They're so soft and sweet. And like that for me is just a moment of micro joy where I go, I can't believe I'm this lucky to have, these amazing beings that trust me enough to snuggle with me, even when I talk sternly to them about eating the butter off the counter. Cozy gaming is a little bit of a micro joy for me. I like a good game that I can play and do my farming without getting my hands dirty.
It's as close to farming as you want to get.
Uh-huh. Go do my dungeon monster slaying. Still be a pacifist. Whatever's going on my craft desk at any given point is absolutely like a little micro joy for me. And I actually have a really good friend who came over and helped me just kind of spruce up my space and declutter it so that I could enjoy that again. I very much appreciate that. I keep saying I need to get consistent about going for my walks again. And now that it's not 7,000 degrees outside, we're back
Right.
to closer to sweater weather here. Going on a walk, often brings a sense of just connection with, nature and the sunshine. Oh, like just that feeling of the sun being out and shining on you without burning you because it's cool outside. Just gives you a little bit of joy. And I'd say one more I'll share. I love to diffuse essential oil. I love like a mint smell. There's like a rosemary mint that I absolutely love. And for me, it's just like a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Orange is like such a great scent, like so bright. So, just finding joy and little ways to create joy for myself in the midst of whatever's going on. What about
Right.
you?
So some of my favorites are, whenever the weather is nice, I do walk over to a train that's just on the outskirts of my neighborhood. And whenever I turn my music on shuffle and a good like song comes on
Ah,
that like I haven't heard in a
yes.
while, but it just hits the mood right, and like I can vibe all the way to work. Love those opportunities. Whenever I get to the subway platform right in time to like step right onto my train and then be on my way. Love those opportunities. I actually found myself at the office the other day, and we were pretty full. Lots of folks were in, and I just forgot about like the energy that comes with like having, people around and everyone working towards something together, collaborating, having conversation. Like it just, the feel of the office was like really great that day. So it just like made me like truly sit in that moment of, these are things that yes, sometimes can be frustrating and irritating, but also there is like joy and happiness to be found in them as
Yeah.
well. Um,
I was
so
going to
yeah,
say, are you going on team back in the office for work?
no, 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 no. I enjoy my 2 days when needed in office, so I'm gonna stick with that. Um, but I think like our little dog, whenever he's
Yeah.
prancing around the house or gets the zoomies, like all of those things just bring such joy and happiness. And I think when we allow ourselves to truly live in those moments and take them in, we talk a lot about finding balance, right? It's not about like shoving feelings out or not addressing things, but it's about really embracing the things and finding balance and how we can move through our day with more comfortability versus high blood pressure and
Yeah.
frustration about the things that are out of our control. And I think like this is one of those things that I think can help bring that balance and help people kind of recenter in the moment. And so the other day I was waiting for a train, it was running late. I found myself very frustrated because it was also hot. And if you know me, you know I do not enjoy being hot. And so then I start like as I'm standing there waiting and waiting and more people are like piling onto the platform, I start like to feel, frustration, and
Yeah.
my heart rate goes up, and then I'm like, okay, let's stop this. Let's change our perspective. What are the good things we're happy about today? What are the micro joys that happened? And did it cool me down? No. Did it make the train show up faster? No. But I did feel a sense of like control again of my attitude and perspective. And I did step onto that train when it finally arrived with a little bit more sense of calm
Yeah.
than what I was building up to.
I think it's so easy to kind of delude ourselves with this idea that, well, I'll be happy when I get to vacation, or
Right.
I'll be happy when I can buy that house on the beach. And if I woke up on the beach every day, I would be happier. And like, I'm not going to lie, maybe I would be happier if I woke up on the beach every day because, like that is my happy place. But I don't have to be on the beach to be happy. I can also find happiness all around me. And I know it's so funny because we were on a trip together earlier this year and I just loved going to the take pictures of the flowers and do all of that stuff. And yet we have like these beautiful botanical gardens here. And I've not ever once been in, the 11 years that I've lived here. And so it's just not even creating a space for me to take advantage of the things that I enjoy that are all around me. Why can I go to San Diego and walk down the street and enjoy the taking pictures of the flowers in the neighborhoods there, and yet, like, they're all around me. So it's giving yourself, I think, permission to enjoy the things that you have started to um like stop noticing or seeing or take it for granted because
Yeah.
they don't feel novel.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and so as I was like looking into this idea of microjoys and like, why do they matter? Why should we focus on these things? I found this great article by an app that I had never heard of before called the Wellness Corner.
The wellness corner.
Yes. And so in this article, they talk about how whenever we acknowledge micro joys, they can help lead to a more positive outlook on life. And like based on research, it actually can help boost our moods, which then releases endorphins. And those are the things in our bodies that like make us feel good and make us
Yeah.
like those natural mood enhancers. And we want to feel good. We want to feel that sense of excitement. So, um, I was like, "Ooh, okay, well, that's a great reason. Like, if that's gonna release those endorphins and allow me to feel better, then that is something that will help enhance and make me kind of jump to that happy place."
Yeah. It also talked about how recognizing and celebrating microjoys can reduce stress levels. And as you're focusing on the joy, you just kind of let go of some of those things that stress you out that you were focusing on instead. It's really about like choosing. We're surrounded by all of these things. There are so many emotions that can come into play, and it's about choosing which emotions you continue to give homage to.
Yeah,
Which where do you choose to spend your time? I think so often we can get trapped in the thinking that, our emotions just happen and we're not in control of them,
right.
and that the external factors of, the world and life are what control our emotions. And while I think it's really important to honor and respect the feelings that come in, I also think it's really important to choose what we keep and what we don't keep, and
Yeah,
what we focus on and what we don't focus on. And when I'm at my best, I am in charge of that for myself. And when I'm not, I am carried away by all
yeah,
of those emotions that maybe I don't really, it's not serving me. Like, what am I getting out of investing my time in that? And so,
yeah,
what I've been learning probably, over the past 5 years is that I actually do get to be in charge of where I invest my time and what emotions I invest myself into. And so, if I'm headed down a path that, maybe doesn't feel as good, I can actually choose to focus on things that are around me that bring joy that
yeah. I mean, it does take the ability to recognize them and be able to like pull yourself back, like that example that I was using when I was waiting
yeah.
for the train. Like I realized like I was starting this spiral of irritation, frustration. So
Yeah.
like I was able to pull myself back and you do like you can you I loved how you said it. It's like where we're investing our time and energy. And I think that's a perfect example of like, we do have more control than I we think we do. I think it's just in that acknowledgement and how to pull back that you have to figure out that plan for yourself.
One of the things my therapist loves to say is that happiness comes from within. And I hate it when he says it. And I tell him that. And the reason that I hate it when he says that is because what I was hearing him say is that if you're not happy, it's your own fault. And that's not really what he was saying. But I think what I think what he was trying to convey to me is that you actually, if you want to be happy, you can put yourself in charge of finding ways to be happy. Like,
Right.
it can be a choice that you make because there are things that you can choose to focus on instead. Now, of course, he would be one to constantly tell me not to ignore or shove down or not pay homage to those emotions that, you need to deal with, because there's a time and a place for everything. And
Right.
in order to, I think, experience joy we have to allow ourselves to experience sadness and anger and all those other things too.
Right.
But just where do we choose to spend our time? Do we get lost? Do we choose to allow those emotions to carry us out to sea? Or do we choose to come back and, allow ourselves to really spend our time getting carried away by those moments of joy?
Yeah. And I think that leads to the next point, is that it helps build that buffer. So whenever we are able to recognize those things and we're able to begin to create this space where we're kind of honoring our decisions of where we want to put that time and energy. And it kind of comes back to this idea of resilience. Like whenever we are like when a tough time does happen, because it always does, like this is not a perfect world.
Yeah.
We're not living the perfect lives. Stuff happens that is out of our control. But whenever we can find the balance and we can create like that buffer, we're able to then step in and out where we want to be. And we have talked about in the past making those decisions and honoring those feelings, and it helps in that process whenever we have those buffer zones. And so I loved how this article talked about those, because I had never really thought about it in that way. And I just immediately in my mind think of like a wall, like, okay, you will not pass this point.
Yeah. And, I think one of the best ways to start becoming more aware of the things that surround us, and that create those little micro joy moments is a gratitude journal.
Yep.
And whatever journaling looks like for you, whether it's what I love about writing it down is it is using more than just one of your five senses,
Yeah.
to actually experience what it is that you're thinking about. It's also something that you could go back and read again when you're really struggling. Because let me tell you, like every time I'm searching for a moment of gratitude, it is not always easy for me to put my hands on, even though they are all around us all the
Right.
time. So, I love a good gratitude journal exercise. I love to hate a good gratitude journal exercise. I really do think that that is one of the ways that can help us become more aware of those micro joys all around us. What are some of the other ways that we can become more aware of micro joys?
So I had already said that like this morning, whenever I had my really good cup of coffee, like
Yeah.
I made the conscious decision to sit in that moment for a little while. And
Yeah.
then I've also implemented another way. I'm talking about it with you. Like
Yeah.
I've experienced that micro joy, and I have made the conscious decision to sit in it, and now I'm making the conscious decision to have a conversation and tell you about it. Like so it just grounds
I love
your,
that.
like you said, all the different senses really have that opportunity to engage with that and start to allow you to build a habit of looking for them and celebrating them.
I love that. I love that. And I love the idea of carving out time specifically to focus on that. I know, you read the book 5 a.m. Club, and you're, I don't know, I think you're a morning person. I'm not a morning person. So, first, when I wake up, doing a gratitude journal or making time to think about what I'm thankful for is maybe not using my own circadian rhythms to my advantage. 'Cause I'm cranky before I drink my coffee.
Those are your cranky moments.
But there, even if I have worked on not bringing the cranky outside of myself, it still lives in there. So, the first thing in the morning may not be a good time for me to do that. Although, they do say taking time in the morning, kind of before you get started in the routine of your day that carries you forward, is a good idea because it helps set the tone for the
Yeah.
day. So, I do think, even if, it wasn't going to be first thing in the morning while I'm on my way to do whatever it is that I need to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do my best thinking while I'm in the car. And so that's, a good time for me to be thinking about that while also paying attention to the road.
Very important.
Very important.
I know
But you
that
could
a
set
lot
a
of,
reminder on
yeah,
your phone or put a sticky note up somewhere that you're going to interact with every day, or, just find some way to incorporate it as a part of your routine. Give yourself a visual cue.
yeah. And I will say the whole like setting an alarm thing is not something that I I really do, but I am
Oh, it's time to be joyful.
so right. Well, and I have like some coworkers who really do like believe in this, like, I'm allotting myself 10 minutes to focus on this task, and they set a timer, and so I'll be on with them or something, and the timer's going. I'm like, oh, do you need to get that? They're like, oh no, it's just my timer. I need to wrap this up because I'm moving on to my next thing. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I love that you have that structure. I don't know if I can work that with that much guardrail.
I feel like that just make me angry at myself for setting that timer.
No, but you do what works for you.
Yeah,
And so like you were talking
absolutely.
about like those gratitude moments in the morning, there's also a lot of people who say do it at night. Like
Yeah.
reflect on your day and find those moments of gratitude throughout your day to
I mean, or why choose? Do it both.
right, do it all. Do it all.
Well, okay, don't do it. You don't try and do it all. That's not going to bring you joy. But like, it's so funny because we'll say things to ourselves like, "Oh, I just can't find the time." What I have said for a long time is we choose what we spend our time on.
Yeah,
So if we're saying we cannot find the time, what we're actually saying is we have not chosen to prioritize that. And if
correct.
you are telling yourself that you don't actually have a choice because, you have to do all these other things, then, you're not really being honest with yourself because you're the one that is choosing. We have agency of ourselves.
Yeah.
You are the one that is choosing. And for an activity, I'm not talking about like an hour every day or, for an activity that can be you could take 3 minutes, you could take 2 minutes, you could take 60 seconds. If you've ever tried to sit quiet for 60 seconds before, it's like uncomfortable. So if you just gave yourself 60 seconds, my goodness, we all can find 60 seconds. You can give yourself the time to think about, what are the things that I'm experiencing around me that I have to be grateful for? And it's not a competition. There are not, right or wrong
No.
answers. You don't have to, like we've talked about with gratitude before, like sometimes we can put this pressure on ourselves to come up with the most eloquent sounding, evolved things or whatever. I mean, it really isn't about that. It's
Right.
just about finding for yourself what are those things that bring a smile to your face, because don't we all want to smile more? Isn't that at the end of life what we're going to, you know, count on and be grateful for, is all of those joyful moments that we've been able to create? I don't know.
I mean, I think that's where people want to get, but I do honestly believe that the sometimes the frustrations that pop up throughout a day, the challenges that we may face, like it's hard. Like it can be difficult to move to that place of choosing joy and seeking gratitude. I have a coworker who does it so well. Like you're on a call with them, and you're talking about something really frustrating and it's not within our control, but we have to work within it. And like we go through all of this and all of us are like, we finally did it. We can, we're moving on to the next crisis or whatever. And this person is always so good about, yeah, but look at what we were able to do. And like they find the
I
silver
love
lining
that.
very easily. So anytime like that person's on a call, we're all like, okay, we will leave at least feeling inspired.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I think a life well lived is a life enjoyed, right? So let's seek to enjoy and to create more joy for others. And we can do that through microjoys. It doesn't have to, you don't have to be rich. You don't have to be, rich in time. You can be that exhausted, worn out single parent who is living paycheck to paycheck and still find microjoy all around you
Yeah,
that enriches your life and helps you experience a happier existence in the world. And really, that's the best gift I think you can give to yourself.
yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Well, we want to hear from all of you.
We do. What are your microjoy?
What are your microjoys? How do you set time aside to look for them and to identify them? Do you just embrace them as you're moving through your day? Like throw what you've recently gone through, your recent noticed Microjoy, share that with us.
Yeah.
And depending on what platform you're on, you can do that here in the comments and share it with everyone. If you just want to send it to us, you can send it to us via email at chrisjeninthemorning@gmail.com. You can also leave a voicemail or text us at 940-278-8129. I think that could be a Microjoy, getting that text message.
Getting that text message. Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We are on all of the social medias. So Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, we're on all of those at Chris and Jen ITM, which stands for Chris and Jen in the Morning. Feel free to like, follow, subscribe, comment there as well. That helps us out. So if you want more content from us, it really helps us out if you give us a like and a subscribe. We really appreciate that. And until next time, be kind to yourself and one another and make it a great week.
Bye, everyone.